Hello folks, welcome. This is a little bit of a different video. I am just going to sit down and tell you some stories because I need some videos that aren't quite so edited. And you guys have asked to hear a little bit about my adventures, and I figured this is the best way to do it. So I'm just gonna grab my coffee and take a sip and we'll do this. I don't know what you're talking about. My ironing board, of course, is not my tripod at the moment. Let's start out with, the attic pick. That's what this episode will be about. The attic pick. I love to troll estatesales.net, and it is a fantastic resource. And my husband comes across this listing that is one photo. One singular photo. And we're just sitting there going, why is there only one photo for this thing? But the photo is of all these little toy sewing machines. And I don't mean a few. I'm talking like there was a table and there were easily 15 to 20 of these machines sitting on one table. And I was like, oh, hello. Why, yes, I do. Yes, please. I'll do that. Thanks. So, of course, we research where it is, and it's about, it was about 90 minutes once we finally got out there. It's only because we had to go up and over and toll roads and shenanigans to actually get there. However, we got there and we're looking around. We're like, this is the middle of nowhere. Great. I'm so glad that all three of us came to this, which I then quickly reversed. And by quickly, I mean I completely forgot, and my husband had to deal with my daughter. Sorry. Yeah, he wasn't a big fan of that. I didn't mind, but I was, anyway. So there was a big estate sale, and there were tables out, and we had gotten there late because we thought it would take a lot less time than it actually had. So we were definitely getting there a little late. They weren't in pack-up mode, but they were like in the wind-down phase of the estate sale / whatever you want to call it. And I'm going around, and it's starting off really great because the very first thing I see is this big box, like entire box full of vintage McCall's magazines, right? So I'm like, oh, hello. Yes, please. And they weren't like 60s, 70s, things that I'm kind of meh on. They were solidly 1940s and 50s McCall's magazines. And I was like, oh, yes. So I see this big box, and I know between the one photo and this box, it's going to go well. So we start looking around. I see some things, and then I start looking at the prices, and oh, child, those prices were high. Like, on the McCall's magazines, they wanted like $18 a piece, which, okay, fine, that's what they retail at. So I'm starting to talk to these people, trying to figure out where we're going with this, because I did not drive 90 minutes to pay antique store prices. Nope. No. So I start talking to them, and they tell me that their mother used to have an estate sale business? No. She used to have antique booths all over Florida. And then she had pulled them all out, and then she had passed away, God love her. And now the 5, 6 kids there were having to sell all this stuff off for, because it was taking up a whole lot of room. I can't even imagine, because they had it all stored in a garage, and it was a 2-story garage. Well, 1.5 stories. I don't know. One side was all the way to the roof, and the other side had like a loft attic situation going on. Insert why I call this the attic pick, even though it's technically, it was a garage attic, so sort of, kind of. So I'm sitting there talking to them, and they are telling me that the goal is to just sort of liquidate things so they can pay off her estates and bills and all these things, like you do, unfortunately, after someone is no longer with us on this planet. And so I start talking to them. I'm like, so I see some items are priced, some items are not. What type of flexibility do we have? The answer, unfortunately, was not much. So I then had to get a little bit pickier, which I don't mind because I can still sometimes find things that people underprice. And I did. Oh, I did. Well, we're going along, and I finally get back to the room where I want to be, or the section where I want to be, because there were 3 tables out front, and then there was a garage, which is where I knew I kind of wanted to be, because in the garage was like bookcases and boxes, and I'm like, let me go through there. Well, so I start going through there. And I start with this box of aprons, which, one, they wanted a lot for, and two, the bugs had gone nom 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 nom. So that was a no dice. I don't think I bought a single apron there, which is very rare for me because I normally like to find aprons because I can normally fix them, and these were beyond what I could fix. Well, so we're going along, and I look up, and up above me, hanging, oddly, are like clothes and wedding dresses and things that do not deserve to be in a rotted, crusted attic in Florida. Like, no. Especially this one gorgeous 1950s wedding dress that I did end up buying, and it was lovely and gorgeous, and oh boy, it has devil dust, so there is no coming back from that. If you want to know what that is, I'll put the link down in the description box down there so you guys can go check out, because I researched to see if I could save this thing. Trust me. Rest in peace, dress. Well, so I look up there, and then I look just slightly over to the right of the hanging dresses. Y'all, I could see the stuff up there. And I'm like, pardon me, gotta put the coffee down. Let me up there. Now, I actually, not this dress, but I think one of my other dresses. And so the brother that I was talking to was like, no, we don't let anybody up there. And I'm like, and for me, I completely respect that. I'm not looking to sue anybody. I'm not, whatever. I get it. You don't want people going up in your personal space. Not a problem. And then he goes, but let me ask my sister. You guys, I got so excited. Because I had already started to find sewing books, sewing pamphlets, a couple patterns, and then the sister comes over, who apparently was the owner of the house I was at. And I asked her, I said, so I'm looking primarily for vintage sewing patterns. That's really what I came up here for. I saw you had all these great toy sewing machines. So I was sort of hoping that there were also some sewing patterns. And she goes, oh yeah, oh my goodness, we have so many of those up in that silly loft. I don't even know what to do with those things. Squee! Like, jumping up and down for excitement level of squee. I was so excited. And so I then again ask, so if you'd allow me, I would love to go up there. And she's like, I'm not really comfortable with it. It's, I don't want to get sued and all this. And I'm like, I'm not the person that's going to sue you. Trust me. Like, first off, I was raised in Ohio. I played in barns on the loft section. I'm used to the low beams. I'm used to all this stuff. Like, I get it. It's not a problem for me. It's not a problem anymore. No, it's not a problem. I am very well aware of how tall I am and how I squish myself into tinier spaces so that I can fit. So she goes in, and you can see her thinking about it, really just going, yeah, okay. She's like, let me go talk to my other sister. I'm like, that's fine. So I continue to look around, and I'm making a pile and, handing it off to people, because now I've found old French curves from the 1800s. So I'm getting really excited because I'm like, oh my goodness, what is upstairs? What is upstairs? Tell me what is upstairs. I want to know. Anything sewing related was in this barn for some reason. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. My husband's sitting back there. I think when I went upstairs, we were on hour 1.5. I told him that you should go and take the wee one and go get some food, because I'm gonna be a while. And he's like, no, I don't want to leave you macho man. I'm like, dude, I'll be fine. We've been here for an hour and a half. I'm pretty sure if they were gonna, axe us and hide us in the back, it would have been 20 minutes ago. We're good. It's fine. Move on. And he didn't go. So after we have that interaction, then the sister comes back to me. She goes, you know what? We'll let you up there. And you guys, I was so excited. I did a dance. I was jumping around. I was so stoked to go up into this loft, because I knew I had this my Spidey senses, my Stephanie senses, sewing pattern senses, whatever you want to call it, were going off like a 5-alarm fire. I was stoked. Okay. Was I in tennis shoes? Yeah, I at least had worn tennis shoes, but I'm in a dress climbing up into a loft of an attic. It's Florida. It's hot. And I'm already sweating and I've been on the ground. So this is going well. So I get up there and I go full honey badger. I am digging. I'm also sort of like, I get up there and take a minute to be like overwhelmed, because also the sister decided to be up there with me for the first little bit. She went to the right and I went to the left because I had seen like there was fabric in front of me. Some type of, it looked like toys to the right. So I wasn't super excited about the right hand side of it. And to the left, I could see this huge wall of just books and paper, which is my thing. I love old paper. So I start digging, and y'all, it was dark. Like, I tried to have my flashlight on. I tried to record some things. I'll see if I can find any of this footage to show you guys just how amazingly dark and like slightly terrifying it was. But it was quite an endeavor. So I'm going along and I am just finding all this stuff and I'm just handing it to her. She's grabbing me boxes. I'm pulling zippers. I'm pulling buttons. I'm pulling fabric. I'm pulling all this amazing stuff. I found this amazing vintage Moby Dick fabric. I found all types of amazing things. The fabric pretty much ranged from about the 50s on. So the fabric wasn't as exciting. I'm wondering if they may have had some older pieces there too, but they were normally like small, tiny scraps. So I'm assuming that they had probably gotten put into quilts, and there were definitely like some quilt like block things there that were way moth eaten. So I didn't even bother. I tried my best to avoid anything that was like giant holes that I could like put my hand through. I'm like, let's not. So I then dive down. So I've gone through the fabric and I've probably given them 3 boxes full of fabric that I'm going to buy from them. And of course it's all priced. And I'm like, this has been up here for a long time. This is going to be dry rotted a little. Well, thankfully, most of it wasn't dry rotted. But it had clearly gotten wet, and it was that smell where it's like been up there for far too long, and I knew it was going to take work, and I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to sell super quick, but I was in this mode of like, buy it all, because in my brain, the more you buy, the cheaper it gets, right? Especially when you are the one that's doing the digging. When you're the one that's doing the digging, it should be cheaper, right? Right? No, anyway. So I'm just sort of piling, guys. I was going whole hog. And then I noticed the wall of paper, which is going to be my next stop because, old paper, that's my jam. So I then go to the left after getting a little bit more distracted with some like things that I still sort of wish I would have picked up. There was an entire box of Singer puzzle boxes. At the time, I didn't realize how valuable those were, so I didn't buy them like an idiot. Yeah, I regret that one just a little. But I then go down and I'm finding all these amazing magazines from the turn of the century, y'all. Like, I found a Weldon's from the 1890s, and it had the sewing pattern in it still. Now, most of this paper had clearly gotten wet because there were leaks. There were just leaks everywhere. And I was a little sad, but you know what? At that point, I'm going to buy it just to save it because I can't. Once I find stuff that old, I'm like, I cannot allow this to sit here and continue to rot. Like, I need this to go to somebody that will take care of it, or I need to save it myself, which I'm okay in paper saving. I know some tips and tricks. I'm not super amazing at paper saving. Well, so we're going along, and I'm sitting there, this wall of paper, just making stacks of magazines and stacks, and it just like keeps growing, and she keeps coming up, and now we're sending the brother up for more things. It's great. So I have now been up there about 3 hours. It was a long time. And I wasn't done because I had only done the left half of the attic. So then I venture over to the right side. Thankfully, the right side was a little bit easier. But I'm going along the right side. I'm like, okay, well, toys and notions and rotted thread. No thanks, I'm good. Going along. And then I see, boop, pattern box. Literally on the side it said pattern box. I was like, oh, hello. Yes, I'll stop here. Thank you. So I get into this pattern box and it's good. It's got some 60s and 70s, not kept well. So I sort of like, I did the filter through where I go through and I quickly flip until I find 40s or 50s. I pull it. Quickly flip, 40s, 50s, pull. And if I see any pattern pieces that I think go to them, I pull those as well. Because the last thing I need is for somebody to not have put this back together again and me be out of pattern pieces. Because you don't want that. So I'm going through and I've gone through one box. And she comes back up and she's like, oh, darling, did you see these other bins over here full of patterns? No. I want to see. So I go over and in this hat box were all these glorious 1890s, 1900s, 1910s. Actually, probably not 1890s. I don't think any of them went back that far. But they were 1900 to 1910s McCall old school patterns. Had they gotten wet? Were they sort of in rough shape? Absolutely they were. Did I buy them anyway? Yes, I did. Because I'm that person. Because even for me, even if I find this pattern and it's sad and lonely and it only has a couple pieces, I know someone out there needs this to complete what they're trying to do well. So I want to help them in that. And so a lot of these patterns, as I'm handing them to her, she's looking at them going, oh, these are rough, honey. Are you sure you want these? I'm like, yeah, I think so. Like trying to quell how excited I am that these are in my hand. It didn't really work. So I grab the entire hat box. I don't even mess around. I'm just like, this is mine. Thank you. Put that downstairs. I want that. And I'm sitting there and I'm just the happiest I think I've ever been because I've never found these in the wild like this. Wild-ish, knowing that this is an antique dealer. But for me, it's the wild because I'm not actually going to an antique store. I'm going to an estate sale. So it's just amazing that I found these. Well, so I'm sitting there and I am stoked. And she goes, well, you know, for most of these, we're not going to charge you that much. Sounds good to me. Also because a lot of them were in pretty rough shape and I could only do so much with them. After that hat box, there were two more boxes below it that were 1920s, 1930s, and early 1940s and 50s that I was like, mine, mine, mine. Thank you. Don't even have to go through those. I know I want them. And this is going to be a pretty long vlog, so I'm going to probably stop here. But basically know that I went home with an entire carload of stuff. So like my poor husband and daughter were like in the car too, but like there's just stuff in the passenger seat and we're like filling up the back of the trunk and in my tiny little Scion, which has basically no trunk space unless there is no back passenger that you can lay it down. Then there's all types of room, but with that back seat up, there's like a postage stamp worth of space. It was definitely one of those moments that I was like, this is fantastic. I spent far too much money, mainly because a lot of it I sold for what I bought it for, because most of the stuff, unfortunately for me, as far as reselling, was definitely overpriced. But the patterns, oh, those patterns, they sold, they literally sold like hotcakes. I barely could keep them. So I would get them scanned and then they would go, and I'd get them scanned and then they would go. So I think all but about 10 of those sewing patterns now have new homes. Because they were stunning and amazing that they were, you know, just kind of sitting there doing their thing in an attic in Florida. Also, please do not store anything that is fabric or textile related in an unair conditioned attic above a garage. Y'all, don't do it. All right, folks, this is long enough. And if you've managed to make it to the end, just leave me a note down below that says, sewing patterns rock, to know that you actually made it to the end of this vlog. So I hope that y'all have a great day. If you enjoyed this type of content, let me know down below. Click that like button, hit the subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.